got the recording started. Oh gosh, yeah. Some teachers are just so strict for no reason. That's yeah, that can be really annoying. All right. Anyways, so welcome everyone to the AP Music Theory review session for 2025. So I did this last year as well, so excited to be doing it again. We will today be going over quite a few things. Primarily at this point, because the AP test is on Monday, we're going to be going over the exam format just to get a quick rundown of that, and then we're going to do some practice questions that's going to help us, I think, just get into the feel of the exam again, just just get that feel for it. Because at this point, we are just a weekend away from the test, so that or just drilling the practice questions at this point is going to be the most helpful thing we can do. Towards the end, we can do some more conceptual view as well, if you guys would like that as well. But emphasis today is going to be definitely on practice questions. So, all right, we're going to start today with just going over uh, the format of the test. So, what I'm going to do is share my screen, and then I'm going to really quickly just pull up my phone so that I can still look at the chat while I'm screen sharing. See how it turns difficult. Turns AB. Yes, I did take ABRSM, so I can speak on this. Um, so yeah, I think I would say I came from a very similar position where I had taken the ABRSM grade 5 exam and started preparing a little bit for the grade 6 exam. I haven't really this deep music theory test. I would say, I mean, first of all, being able to play, having played piano for a decade, I'd say I've also been playing piano for at least like I want to say 10, maybe 12 years at this point. I think yeah, a good 12 years at this point. It does definitely give you a major advantage in terms of learning the content. So I would say in terms of ABRSM difficulty, this is probably you know above a grade 5, but not quite to a grade 6 yet. I mean, uh, I'd say this is comparable to grade 6. Um, and yeah, comparable to about a grade 6, I'd say, because mainly because of the part writing that you have to do on this test, but there's more oral components on it, so there's that aspect that makes it. Yeah, you can call me Nabla. Uh, that's what my name is on Discord at least. Yeah, I do have perfect pitch. They also with one thing with perfect pitch is it's not required for the AP test. I mean, it's definitely an advantage to have it, but having relative pitch is what you need for this AP test, and not perfect pitch, because perfect pitch is not necessarily it's not necessarily acquired. Oh, hold on, I just accidentally I think I just accidentally disconnected. All right, let me open up the chat on my phone so I can keep looking at it. But primarily, I'll be answering chat through talking. So, all right, what we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get started with just going over the format of the test. Sorry about this cough, guys. Let's see. Share my screen. Okay. Let's see. My mic's coming through okay, right? It's not. I mean, there's a good amount of content you can cram. I mean, there is a fair amount of vocabulary that you have to cram, but at this point, I think after we go through the practice questions today, you'll get a feel for the test, and however much practice you get at this point is however much. I think that's going to be what's going to happen at this point. But you can always do something. And then next question: how important from ears scales? Scales. Generally, it's good to be able to identify scales because you'll need to be able to you'll need to be able to differentiate between like the minor and the major keys. At least for the multiple choice section, there will be some excerpts where you may have to where you may need to listen to an excerpt of music, and you may need to be able to tell whether it's in major, minor, or mix of those. And then also you do need to know, um, you should be able to listen to a scale and tell if it's a major scale or minor scale or something like that, because of the way the steps, the half steps and the whole steps are arranged between each other. So it is helpful to be able to learn scales from ear, being able to at least identify whether they're major or minor, things like that. Okay, so I'm going to start with talking about the format of the test. So the AP Music Theory test, so it's on Monday this year. It's on Monday. On a Monday this year. It was kind of weird. It was on a Friday the year I took it, and it was on. Gosh, why is there an overlay of Discord? Okay, this is. So you're gonna turn off the overlay. So you're gonna turn off the overlay in Discord. Here's what I'm gonna do. Go into settings. I'm gonna just what should we call it? Game overlay. I'm gonna get rid of the overlay. So it's not blocking the screen. Okay. There we go. Now it's not blocking the screen. Okay. So first things first, we're going to just go over what the exam format's going to look like. Hopefully this is just a review at this point, but a music theory is about, as you may know from the title, music theory. It is about, it's actually longer than 2 hours. It's a little, yeah, it's fairly longer than 2 hours long. And it has 75 multiple choice questions and 7 free response questions, and then 2 of the sightseeing tasks. So the multiple choice and the first part of the free response each weigh collectively 45% of the AP test, and then the remaining 10% is going to be the sightseeing. So the multiple choice is divided into 2 parts. You're going to have the multiple choice section first. It's going to be on a CD player, so this is one of the tests. It's not affected by the digital shift. It's still on paper because there's a CD player that has to be used. So part A is going to be the oral source material. It's going to be played through a CD, and you're going to do the multiple choice questions along with the CD as it plays. Once that's done, you're going to have the non-oral multiple choice, which is just going to be 32 to 34 questions. It'll be timed separately, just a solid block of 35 minutes. You'll have that time to answer those questions. So not that much time, 35 minutes. It's relatively a short multiple choice section, relatively pretty quick. Then you have the free response section. This is generally the more predictable section, I would like to argue. So you're always going to have a melodic dictation for the first 2 questions. One of those is going to be major, another one of those is going to be minor. And then the other thing I'll say is generally one will be, that's not the pen I want to use. Generally, one is going to be major, not major, I was saying, one is going to be in 4/4 or like simple meter, and then the other is going to be in compound meter. So that's that. And then usually the melodic dictation is also going to have at least one, I believe one part that's going to have some form of secondary function, just like the harmonic dictation. So these, and then harmonic dictation is going to be the third and fourth question. So melodic dictation, just to review, is just you're gonna have a melody that's played. You have to write that melody out. Harmonic dictation, you have to spell out the soprano and the bass line of chords and identify the chord function. The weighting of this point value wise, I will say it's a little bit lopsided. Is my let me look at the chat real quick. I mean, music theory, I would say it's a useful class if you're just learning music in general. It is a good class if you just want to learn more about music in general, or potentially get some arts credits out of the way for college. Uh, and then yeah, hopefully it's not super glitchy. I mean, mainly I am pausing a little bit between phrases as I'm speaking, partly because of this cough, to be honest. But harmonic dictation is harmonic dictation weighs somehow substantially more than the melodic dictation, primarily because the harmonic dictation has more parts that can be graded. You have the soprano and the bass line, and you also have the figured bass that's going to be graded there. Melodic dictation is just graded by the phrase, by the bar, really. So that's the first half of the written for response. And then you have questions 5, 6, and 7, which are worth which first you're gonna have. We're gonna look at these later too. Also, part writing from a figured bass. So you begin figured bass, and you have to write the alto, tenor, and soprano lines. That's worth 25 points. They recommend you spend about 15 minutes on it, and then you recommend to spend about 10 minutes on the part writing from Roman numerals. So you have to write. You're given the Roman numerals, and you have to write all four voices. Do a uh, four voice leading. And then harmonization, the melody is worth 9 points. You're basically given a bass line, and you have to write a melody. You're given a melodic line, and you have to write harmony for it. They recommend you spend about 20 minutes on it. Personally, this is going to just be your preference. I mean, you have 45 minutes to do all three questions combined, but personally, I have seen that harmonization actually takes the least amount of time, whereas with part writing, it usually takes a bit more time. So, it really depends on how you feel comfortable pacing yourself, but it's a free block of time where you can move freely between the questions back and forth, and it's going to be up to you to pace yourself for the 45 minutes you have for that section. Once that's done, that part A booklet gets collected, and then the part B booklet you get. Sometimes they have. Apparently, I mean, the instructions say there should be seals in the part B orange booklet. Yeah, I think it's orange, but I mean, my year they didn't have the seals on the booklet, but that doesn't really matter. You will be then after that doing the sightseeing questions. The way you do these questions, like the way that you're going to submit your responses, is going to vary based on what system your school is using. At some schools, you have the DAC app, I believe that will be used. The the prompting is going to be done also through a CD player. And then in terms of the way sightseeing works, for some schools, yeah, you have the DAC app where you can record it through a computer. Some schools still use like handheld recorders that get snail mailed. Whatever ways, it's 75 seconds to read the melody and practice, and then you have 30 seconds to record a melody. Usually one is in, just like with the melodic dictations, you have one in major, one in minor. It's going to be one with a secondary function, and then you have one simple meter, one compound meter generally. So, look at the chat now. I'm playing. Yeah, I mean that's yeah that I would say yeah, grade 8, grade 4, yeah, yeah. Theory wise, grade 3. That's a very good foundation to have because you'll be able to. I didn't take grade 3, I think, but you'll be able to with with some time and with some just going through stuff, you'll get through the material pretty easily with a good foundation, I think. Uh, entertainer, the entertainer. Oh yeah, that's a classic one. Did that a lot. All right. Again, apologies about this cough. I don't know when this cough is going to go away. All right. So what we're going to do is now we're going to start doing some practice. We're going to start doing some practice questions. For the multiple choice, this is where it's going to get fun. This is where I'm going to get to see some audience participation. We're going to get to go through questions, and we're going to get to get some input and see where we go from there. Let's make sure my stream is not glitching out or anything. Okay, good. All right. So we're going to first do some sample questions that the College Board has given us in the CED. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start with these oral multiple choice questions. So I'm going to see if I can split screen this and do see if I can split screen and do this audio. All right, so I'm going to do a split screen, and I'm going to switch my share to my entire screen, so you guys can also actually no, that won't be, that's not going to be super helpful. I think if I just do like this, it'll be fine because you don't need to see the audio file. It's not helpful. Okay, cool. All right, so what we're going to start with is we're going to start with some sample multiple choice questions. Oh, and before I forget, to break down the oral multiple choice, usually what you're going to see is a couple of rhythm and pitch patterns, which we're going to do right now, some error identification, which I also have prepared, which I'm using the same materials from last year when I did this. Error identification, you'll be shown like a little phrase, a little like maybe 8 bars of just some piano excerpt, and then you'll have to identify errors or differences between the printed score and what you hear. So that's that. Um, different tab. This is super clunky. My mouse is also not exactly uh, working well. I am recording, right? Yeah, I am recording. Okay, I'm recording properly. Okay. So I just want to make sure, and then you'll also have real excerpts of music. So they might be from symphonies. Sometimes every single year they have a one music choice that's like a little bit wacky. So it could be like some maybe a little jazz, maybe something random. I mean, I know on some of the practice exams I've seen, like there was some rock song on one of the practice tests. There was like a Tibetan folk song on some other one. Um, on one of the other ones, they'll always have some interesting thing other than just classical on there. But yeah, and then when it comes to the non-oral multiple choice, you'll have individual questions where maybe it's just some simple facts, maybe identifying errors in part writing, or it might also be excerpts of scores, whether single instrument scores or multiple instrument scores. You'll have that as well. Okay, let's get into the multiple choice. So first thing we're going to do, all right, so this is the first question right here on the screen. We're going to play the audio. When I play the audio, just let me know if you hear it. All right, did any audio come through? Because now I'm just realizing I don't think I shared my system audio, so the answer might be no. Okay, okay, okay. That's what I thought. Okay, let me reshare my screen so that you can hear it, so you can get the audio because I'm realizing that I only shared one part of my screen, so I didn't share the entire thing. It would help if my mouse was actually responsive. Okay. It's the wrong page. There we go. All right, let's try this again. All right, pitch pattern played twice. All right, is that coming through now? Okay, awesome. All right, I'll play this one more time. And do notice that they give you the same starting note because it's a bit laggy. Okay. All right. Well, we'll do what we can here. My internet is not known for being the best, but we'll give this our own try. let's try. What I can also do is I will post actually right now the link. I can post the link to this if you want to look at the audio. Page 225 is where this starts. So if it's not registering or if the audio is not completely not working, you have that to reference the material as well. Okay, so this question right here. Notice how they give you the same starting pitch? What that means, you're not expected to have perfect pitch. You're expected to just be able to tell the intervals. So let's, all right, does anyone have any answers they think this might be? Any answers? See A. Yeah, we're getting those different answers here. Okay. All right. So this one is A. So let's listen to the audio again and tell. So let's first thing we're going to do is we're going to pay attention to that first jump. So you listen to this part. So da, 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 da. Does that sound like a minor third or a major third? It's a minor third, right? So if we think about the interval in our head, like as you go to a major third, it's right. So that slightly more, and again, this is the thing with ear training, right? Ear training, it's developed over time. Doing it right now, it might seem a little bit just fragmented trying to put it together, but the is my mic lagging a lot? Oh, it's lagging a lot. Okay. Okay. Let me see what I can do. Okay. Let me try something. Okay. Let me try speaking a little bit louder now. Okay. Is it still very laggy? Or is it like coming through a little bit better now? Okay. 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 Well, it's a little bit the yeah, it's weird. This might be a little tricky to figure out, but we'll do our best with it. On the wrong page again. I have too many tabs open. Okay. Maybe that's why. Who knows? Alright. Anyways, going back to our. So we have that first, and then if we keep listening, right? That sounds as a whole as like a diminished chord, right? It's just if you put that all together, right? It's just a bunch of minor thirds, right? So if we think about minor third, this is a major third, right? This is a major third, not a minor third. In B, minor third, and then another minor third here. So we can cross out C and D because we already have, if at the first stage we figured out that it's not. Yeah, the tritone exactly. Yeah, the tritone's also a great hint. So that actually helps eliminate A, B, and C. Oh, sorry, B, C, and D. So yeah, that is also a great clue to pick up on. So there are a variety of ways you can approach this first problem right here. It's all going to be dependent on what your ear picks up and how it wants to perceive the sound. But generally, the most foolproof method is to do with the intervals, but having these different types of verification methods is very helpful. So this first answer is A. All right, B, or B, not B, A, 2. Thinking in riddles right now. Okay, let's take a look at this one right here. Let me pull up the. All right, let's see if we can preview this. Okay, there we go. All right, so before another tip with multiple choice, before you look at or before you um, hear the audio, listen or not listen, preview the answer choices, right? So here it's a rhythmic pattern that we're looking for. So we either are looking for da 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 or da 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 da. So that's the first thing we want to pick up on, and then one thing you could do is subdivide, right? Subdivide that 6 8 in your head. So like 1 2 3 2 2 3 da 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 da. We don't know what tempo it's going to come at, but having that subdivision prepared helps us. So let's play the audio now. All right, ready? All right, one more time. All right, all right. Let's get some answers. Need to reload the chat. Yeah. Apologies about the lag. It's kind of it's tricky. I have no idea how to fix this. I'm not gonna lie. It's internet is annoying to deal with. All right. Let's. All right. So yeah. I'm gonna do. Let me see if I can. Let me see what happens if I take out my headphones and just use my computer's microphone. Actually, no, that doesn't change it because it's through a stream. Oh, yeah. C is the right answer. So wait, let me see what time. This is. Okay. Is there any setting I can change? There's no setting I can change on here. Yeah, stream. I think the stream might just be. It's wonky. It has nitro. I mean, it's nitro streaming quality. I don't know what's happening. Uh, but yeah, this one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe that makes it a little better. Okay. Okay. Uh, let's see how well this works. Yeah, I have my cup of tea next to me. The allergies are. Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah, these allergies are killing me. Let me see if I can play the audio through my phone. If not, then audio. Let's see if I can play the audio through my phone. But just going over that question, yeah, I think from what we can all tell, so we hear two long we hear two long subdivisions, and then we hear so we can eliminate A and B because it's not the 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 it's the right and then we hear and then at the top of the next beat we hear and not so we hear that beat we hear two subdivisions of that first beat immediately, that first subdivision, two subdivisions of the first subdivision immediately, so C is our answer for that one. Okay, yeah, this is going to be much more annoying if I have to. Too much more annoying if I have to. Oh gosh, why are these tabs all over the place? Oh my gosh, the computer is so messy. Okay, is there even an audio button for this first one? Okay, let me try playing the audio through my phone. In the meantime, take a read at these questions first. Sometimes they'll have multi-part stuffs. All right, let's play this audio. All right, let's give this a listen. See if it works through my phone. No, I think that's even worse. Yeah, that was even worse. Oh, awesome. Oh, that is great. Yeah, all right. So, okay, okay. Thank you for Neil. Okay. That is great. You can send the audio through as a file. All right. So I'll try playing it on here one more time. If you don't hear it for 3 through 5, just give uh the button that Pernille sent in chat a click to hear it. Let me go here. All right. Let's give this a gander. All right. No, did I stop my stream? Oh, hold on. I accidentally stopped my stream because I accidentally went to a different device. Okay, let me reshare my screen. Here we go. Okay, let's give questions 3. Okay, let me pull it up, back up to questions 3 through 5. You get to listen to this 4 times. Yeah, 4 and 5 are they're more like they're different. It's more specified, like specific knowledge of like chord theory, and then just specific vocab. So yep, 3 is A. So if we listen to da 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 da, that is a 4th. All right, I'm going to play it one more time just to see what we can pick up. Oh, okay. Wait, hold on. Is my mic coming through now? Okay, because I did pause from speaking for a little bit for maybe a couple seconds. Okay. All right, I'm assuming at this point we've sort of gone through the audio on our own, or if we've heard it. I'm just gonna skip the next couple of listens, but depending on the song or the excerpt, you'll get quite a few listens. So, question 4, at the end of the first part, right? So we go to the end, like da, 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 da. You hear a lot of half steps, right? So, so if we listen to this part, right? Da, 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 we're just ascending, right? We're not going up and going back down, right? So what we hear now essentially is a passing tone. Is it diatonic? Not quite, right? Da, 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 chromatic half step. Da, da, da. So chromatic. So we can eliminate B and D. And because we're going in just one direction, it's not a neighbor. It's a passing tone. So 4 is also A. Chromatic half steps. All right. Now let's listen one more time and let's try number 5. So pay attention to the answer choices, right? So you have this is I want to say like some level of grade 5 and also a portion of grade 6. I want to say for ABRSM. Let's see. All right, let's give this one more listen. So listen carefully to the progression of the piano part. Okay, so listen carefully, right? We will hear that dominant element. We hear the dominant element. Oh, stream volume. Maybe I need to share. Maybe I need to play my audio louder. Maybe that's also a contributing factor. And yeah, that also for you guys. But I will also see what I can do to my audio to turn it up. Let me turn it up like 60, just through 60, turn it to 70. Okay, let's do this. All right, so listen carefully, right? A five chord, it would sound much more, I guess, in a sense, cleaner, right? A five, if you just have a five, you don't hear that sort of distant interval. When you have a 6/5, that's when you hear that sort of almost distant interval. When you hear that almost distant interval, that definitely signals that you have a seven, like a seven chord, right? A seventh in the chord. So telling between the five and the seven, right? The five chord, it's still a with the five chord, it's still relatively a dominant tone. You have that fifth, right? You have that fifth you can latch onto, whereas there you have that somewhat dominant sound. But a seven half diminished 6/5, you have a more diminished sound. So here, because you have that, it's sort of really just about feeling it almost, feeling for that feeling for that five, feeling for hearing that five, the five of the key, that kind of five, right? It's where you're going to get the answer of C from. So that one's a tricky one. So you can definitely hear the diminished a little bit because there is part of the part of the 5/6/5 chord has a diminished element to it. But it's not here. But when you hear that the five of the scale degree still in there, that I think more signals that you have still that five chord. This one is definitely much trickier in terms of feeling for it. It's the same thing in the dictations where it can be tricky to feel out. So that's going to be answer choice C. Okay, now let's listen to. Now what we're going to do is we're going to listen to the middle part 2 times. Question 5, I mean, the thing that's like, here's the thing with this part, right? Knowing the chords, like knowing chord function is kind of like a grade, I want to say grade 4 or grade 5 kind of thing. But you don't really have like that ear training aspect in ABRSM that much. So it's kind of hard to make a comparison there, like what level this could be. So that's what I'll say about that. All right, let's try. All right, let's look at number 6. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to download the audio for 6 and these next two parts to see if I can play it. Okay. Okay, that's not what I wanted to play. All right, let's see if I can do what Pernille did and download the audio, upload it. Okay, upload that. Okay, that should work. Yeah. All right, so I'll play it from my computer and then. So let's read question 6 right now. So, imitation. What is not here? So imitation, parallel 6/4 chords, melodic ornaments, changing meter. All right, so let's pay attention to this part. So let's give this a try. All right, one more time. All right, so what's immediately obvious? We can eliminate a couple of things that are very obvious. Melodic ornaments. There were I mean, you could hear at the beginning, right? There were so many. That's a lot. That's a very heavy melodic ornamentation. So we can get rid of C immediately. Anyone else have any answers they think might be true? So yeah, B is also another one we can eliminate. Good, because you hear and then going into that 5 chord. So that's a lot of. So yeah, the correct answer is D. So imitation is actually is used. Um, whether I mean you can think of imitation as whether the imitation between the piano and the horn. So yeah, imitation is really just like copying in a sense. So imitation in this context, what it means is essentially you have a particular motif or an idea that is played in multiple instruments. So towards the end, you hear how the horn and the piano both play that. That's what's called imitation. That's what imitation means. So yeah, imitation. So you hear that. Yeah, music theory. How's it going, Krisha? What's up? So, um, yeah. So the answer here is going to be D, change in meter, because you don't hear. So you hear the you hear the meter is relatively stable as well. All right, I'm not going to download this last file and see if I can upload it just so people can play in case my computer is super laggy. Pretty chillin', pretty chillin'. A music theory. No. Wi-Fi is a battle, but it's okay. We always find solutions. Stuff. All right, should upload. All right, I'm gonna play the whole. So 7 and 8. Luckily, after 7 and 8, we get a little break and we can do some. Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Technology can. Yeah. Technology. There's not. I mean, there's not that much I can do, unfortunately. But yeah. Thanks for letting me know. I'll slow down some parts just so we don't lose stuff. All right. At least with the audio, after these two, we'll be done for a little bit. But then we're gonna go back to dictations at the end. let's do these. All right, I'm going to play this just one more time. So let's pay attention. Let's just really quickly first preview 7 and 8. So after repeat of the horn fanfare, the horn plays what? Okay, so we're looking for what the horn plays, and then all right, horn, when the horn plays the melody. So when the horn plays the melody, the piano accompaniment features which of the? All right, so let's take a look at that. Okay, I'll play the audio once now. All right. So augmentation is basically when you take a melody and then you make it essentially rhythm. You make it slower, but through lengthening each of the length of each of the notes. So, for example, if your melody consists of all quarter notes, an example of that could be having the same melody, but each of your quarter notes becomes a half note. Doubling the length of each of the notes could be an example of augmentation. All right, let's I'm gonna play it one more time, and as I play it the second time, see if we can get some answers in the chat. All right, 7, 8. All right, all right. Let's get some answers in the chat and see what we can get. All right, I see some correct letters. All right, let's take a look at 7. So the horn plays what? What does the horn play? So we hear you see how that sounds similar, right? So we hear the piano play, and then you see how that's the same thing, right? So so no diminution, no inversion. It's quite literally just a repetition of what the piano is playing. So C is going to be your answer for 7. Oh, excuse me. So yeah, when you listen to the piano part in this very end, so you hear yeah, so you don't hear any counter melody. It's just blech. You don't hear any doubling the melody. Otherwise, it almost sound like homophonic or no, not polyphonic. It almost sound like it's just homophonic. And then arpeggiation is probably the closest because you hear that right. You hear that quickly moving bass line. So arpeggiations are going to be your answer. Block chords, you don't hear any like the. It's like right. So no block chords, just arpeggiation. All right, let's take a break from some audio because we'll do some. What I'll provide at the end for I guess like a little bit of like a take-home exercise for later, if you will. A couple years ago when I took this class, uh, a couple years ago when I took this class, we had a project at the end of the year to show how something we learned in the music theory class applied to modern artists. So I did a project where I chose a song and you guys will see what that song is later. I'll play a little bit of the song. We're not going to go through all the questions, but I'll give you guys this resource. to just because of timing. I don't want this to go for too long, but I'll give you guys this resource later that you can use for some more practice. But as part of the project, I made basically essentially a little multiple choice section that can show what we learned in that class. So that multiple choice to go along with that song I chose. So let's take a look at chat. Learning more listening theory is going to be. I mean, YouTube videos are definitely have a lot of good a lot of good resources. Um, yeah, a lot of it really is like part of your playing of instruments, like playing playing the instruments. Playing music is definitely listening to music a lot is like how you get that sort of oral training. As I would say, that's the thing I would say. Yeah, it's annoying that College Board doesn't release more multiple choice practice. It is pretty annoying, but multiple choice test security, whatever their reasons are. um, I mean, this session I'm hoping won't go for more than like 2.5 hours long. I mean, usually when I've hosted sessions, they've been about 2 hours long. But I mean, what I will have is I will have a folder. I will have a folder online on Google Drive that I'll share with the admins that contain all the resources that that I've talked about today. It'll include all the questions we did today and also that extra packet practice that I'll have at the end. So so that'll be that. All right, let's move on to some simpler multiple choice questions or some non-audio multiple choice questions. So there's not much to cover here. It's just there's no audio here, which is good. Need to worry about that. So you'll have some questions in this. This is essentially part. I guess you want to say part B. So these are sample part B questions. Yeah, yeah. I will send it to the admins, and then they'll be able to post it. All right. Hold on. I need to reconnect. Oh, I accidentally joined on my phone again. Yeah, I accidentally joined on my phone again. So okay, let me at least I keep accidentally joining my phone because I need to load because I'm loading the chat on my phone so I can there we go. Stream should be back up now. Okay, so yeah, it's let me restart again because I think it's not loading. It's just not loading in general. All right, try this one more time. Let's try this again. Okay, one more time. All right, there we go. It should work now, right? I can see it. Hopefully that reflects. Okay. All right. Which of the following is a correctly notated natural minor scale? All right. So natural minor, right? We just have whole step, whole step, whole step. Oh, sorry, whole step, half step. Sorry, that's what I meant. Whole step, half step, right? So like, so we can eliminate D, and we should have another, and then once we get to our fifth and sixth scale degrees, we should have that half step, right? And then whole step, half step. So I see the correct answer is already in chat. The answer to this one is A. So reason being, we have this right here. That's a harmonic minor scale. And then C is an example of when we descend, we have that's called a melodic minor. Yep, exactly. There's no mix of sharps and flats as well. That's also a very dead giveaway. So Just to review what the different minor scales are. Natural minor, it follows the key sig. So follow the key signature. So here we have a G minor scale, right? So we should have two flats. Follow the key signature. Harmonic, raise the 7. The melodic, you raise the 6 and the 7, going up, and then it's a natural coming down. So yeah, get giveaway of that. Now D is an example of what we can actually call a G Mixolydian scale because it has all the notes of a C major scale, but it starts on the fifth note. So we can call this actually a G mix. This is actually G Mixolydian. So there's that. That's also we're reviewing a little bit of. So yeah, that's a nice review as we go along. Yep. Just so yeah, this is like a nice note for like later, right? Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian. Those are these 7 modes we have. Honestly, I don't really use a mnemonic to memorize them. I kind of just rotely memorize them. But if you know a mnemonic that's helpful, by all means use it. Yeah. So IDPLMAL is basically just a mnemonic. It's an acronym that's used for the that's used for um, for modes. A mode is essentially a scale that's based on a certain scale degree of a key signature. So, for example, D D Dorian would be a scale starting on a D, but with all the notes that are found in a C major scale. Because Dorian is the second, it refers to the second scale degree. So D is the second scale degree of C major. So it's the key of C major, but starting on D. Yeah, I memorized them because yeah, and then yeah, let's see. I don't particularly like my aunts. Yeah, that could be a good one. That's a good one. Modes are I mean modes you just learn them. I mean you can there's definitely like online music theory textbooks that explain modes. Modes are not a particularly hard thing to learn about. You just have to kind of memorize them. So yeah, there are many online music theory textbooks I think that explain what different modes are. Yeah, it is Unit 8, I believe, also of this curriculum. Yeah, it's actually yeah. I don't think I've seen it in ABRSM actually. I don't think. I mean, I've only done like preparation for ABRSM Music Theory Grade 6. Uh, um, I've only seen that for yeah Grade 6. Really, I'll be honest. But I don't think I've seen modes anywhere in music in ABRSM. But they're useful regardless to understand about because a lot of music. I'll give you an example. This is a nice piece we're playing in orchestra right now. We are playing currently the St. Paul's Suite for Strings, Opus 29 by Gustav Holst. The first movement, the jig, is actually the key signature has no sharps or flats, but it's based on like it starts on D. Like that entire first like phrase is like it's like it's based on D. So when we went for when our orchestra went to a master class in Boston, the instructor was telling us about how it's D Dorian because it's the all the notes of the C major scale, but it starts on D, right? So all right, that was a little bit of yapping about modes. I mean, hopefully that was a good review of modes, but yeah, that was just a. If we can review more about modes later too, if we want to. All right, now we're going to look at. For now, let's focus on this target practice. All right, so next thing we're going to look at this type of multiple choice questions the set based questions. So these there are going to be quite a few sets of these questions you'll see out of the 32 34 multiple choice you'll see. Um, Questions 10 to 15. So we're going to be given an excerpt that looks like this. So there's going to be, multiple instruments. There might even be vocal lines, and we're going to basically just be looking at this. Unlike with a class like English, don't look at the passage first in this case, because looking at the passage, you're not going to really get anything. You're just going to see, okay, there's some measures, there's these, nice, like, instruments, time signature. The most helpful thing is going to be to start by looking at the questions, because the questions are going to tell you quite literally what to look for, and they're pretty easily findable. I mean, the thing with sheet music like this, you're not reading it, you're just looking for stuff in it. All right, the harmony in box A is best analyzed as well. Okay, harmony. So let's look at the key signature. What we're noticing here is, we have three flats. What does that mean? So it could be E flat major, or it could also be E flat major, or it could also be C minor. Excuse me. So let's take a look. Based on the fact that we don't have that many accidentals, I think, and also because we're starting on this E flat right here, I think we can say fairly safely that this is an E flat major. Now we are on a 6. We are on a 6 with a slash. What does that mean? A 6 with a slash through that means the 6 has been flattened. It has been brought down a half step. That's what the 6 with the dash through means. So now what the 6 here means, we have a first inversion chord. So C is our bass, is our baseline. And we notice right here we have A natural, E flat. Now, the first note, so there's nothing, so A flat is normally the fourth scale degree of E flat. But notice how here we don't have any 4. What's happening here is we are going to need to take a look at potentially secondary dominance. Because even if we could think about this as being in C minor as well. Let's see, if we think about this being in C minor, we do have a plot, it does seem like we have a plausible answer that it's, even then, not really C minor. You still need that A flat. It's not, it's not going to be A flat minor in this case. So we're going to look at secondary dominance. So 5, what of 5 is this? It's 5 of something. We have that hint right there. So 5 of something, or so sorry, something of 5. Well, what is the 5 of E flat? The 5 of E flat is B flat. B flat major. You can think that. Now, A natural. So look at 5. A natural is the what of B flat? A natural is the 7 of B flat. So we have da, 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 that is diminished, right? Da, da, da. That's a 7. That's a 7. And diminished 6 of 5. So that's how we got our answer right there. So there's a lot of ways, again, you can approach each question. But I think the easiest thing to do with this is to realize, okay, we have a diminished chord right here. So we can eliminate B and C, first of all. And then is it 2? No, because A, C, E, even if you interpreted this as, no matter if you interpret this as E flat major or C minor, you're not getting a 2 chord out of this. It's just not true. So using the multiple choice options to help guide us, we can verify. The fact that it's not A kind of gives away its D, but verifying how this is a 7 diminished 6 of 5. Okay, measure 17, the non-harmonic tone in the alto part is, okay, so 17, measure 17 non-harmonic in the alto. So we notice here we have da 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 da. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming. Yeah, it's 1 a.m. over there, so get some sleep. But yeah, I'm glad you found this helpful. This, AP Music Theory, it is definitely a good course to take. Hopefully, if you have the opportunity to take it, you do take it. Yeah, I'm glad this was helpful for you. Yeah. Alrighty. Thanks for coming. All right. Oh, okay. Well, either ways, there's a lot of ways you can learn music theory for sure. Like there are a lot of online textbooks. There are many online textbooks that you can find. I think if you just Google like music theory textbook, you're gonna see something. You'll see like this. There's like this one. I think it's like 21st century music theory.net. You'll see, but yeah, even if I think if you just Google a like music theory textbook, like the first couple results are gonna have like some pretty good stuff in it. So yeah, but yeah, that will be posted. Some the stuff I was talking about earlier. All right, good night. Good night. Yeah, and yeah, neighbor tone. Yeah, neighbor tone. This is a neighbor tone without even showing you the options. Neighbor tone. Exactly, because you're going down. Duh, duh, duh. It's not anticipation. It's not a passing tone. Passing tone will be if you're going in a single direction. Anticipation, you're not anticipating any chord, right? You're not playing the next chord early. Suspension, no, you're not holding something. You're not holding something from the previous chord out, right? So it's da da da. Keep it simple. It's our neighbor tone. It's a neighbor tone. All right, 6/4 chord in measure 33. Okay, so this will require us to review some of our 6/4 chords. So let's look at measure 33. So a couple of things that we need to remember about what different 6/4 chords are. So a cadential 6/4, what that is essentially when you have a 1/6/4 that's followed by a 5 chord that leads into a perfect cadence. So cadential 6/4, that's what that is. It's when you have essentially when you have a 1/6/4 going into 5 or 5/7 and then going to the 1. On the other hand, a passing 6/4 is a 6/4 chord where the bass note is a passing tone. That's kind of sort of explanatory. Pedal neighboring 6/4 chord is when you have that bass that goes as a neighboring chord. Arpeggiated 6/4 chord. See, what is that? I'm trying to think what that is. Arpeggiated 6/4 chord. Arpeggiated 6/4 chord. Oh yeah, arpeggiated. I mean, it again has to do with the now I remember the movement of the bass. So out of all these, I think in this context, it's going to be most relevant for us to pay attention to what the bass line is doing. So if you had to guess, like one of the most important one you should know is the cadential 6/4. Cadential 6/4 you should know is a 1/6/4/5/1. The other ones you can kind of sort of just deduce based on the way the bass line is worded, or sorry, the question is worded, and what the bass line does. So let's take a look at it now. There is a lot of vocabulary that you're going to need to know for this test, like anacrusis, like passing tone is one of them, like melismatic, disjunct, conjunct. There's a lot of those vocabulary words that you need to know, but at the end of the day, those vocabulary words are kind of some of them are much more minutiae, are much more in the scope of the minutia compared to the big ideas. Like the big ideas you want to know are chord theory, chord progressions, melodic notations. Like you are not going to need to know any of the vocabulary words for the free response. Ironically, you only need to know them for the multiple choice, and even then, they're pretty few and far between sometimes. So let's look at what was the measure again. I feel like I'm yapping a lot, but okay. Measure 12, 6/4 quarter measure. Sorry, question 12, measure 33. So as you can tell, 6/4 right here we have is all right. So we have okay. So what is happening here? So we see the bass line moving up and then moving jumping back down. So what is happening here? Also, I'm not sure if you might hear my Snapchat notifications. I don't know why that's coming through. I have do not disturb on, but it's still coming through for some reason. So what's happening here? Well, the baseline is kind of not giving us too much clues, but what we can tell here is if we look at our options again, right? Credential 6.4, passive 6.4, and then all that other stuff. So let's think about let's think about it. Could this be a credential 6.4? We have our E flat major lung chord, and then we have what we have here. This is what makes this question a little bit tricky, because what you're noticing here is that we are using tonicized chords. F, if it's the third note in a triad, actually is going to be composed with B, D, B flat, D, and F. And then this next chord, you notice here we have a root position. It's the figured bass tells us not what the chord function is, but just what the root position, how the chord is positioned. This is F, A, C. Notice essentially how this is the 5 of this. Because here we go back to a B flat major triad in root position. So this is the 5 of this. F, A, C, F, A natural C is the 5 of the B flat triad. We have a 5 of 5. What's that telling us? We have a 5 of 5, and then we just have a 5 here. What I think that's telling us is that this is actually a cadential 6/4 because we're going from the 1 of 5 to the 5 of 5. So in a sense, you could think that this is 1/6/4 of 5, and then this is 5, and this is just 5. So that's what makes this question tricky, I think, is because the baseline doesn't really tell you much, but the fact that you have a 5, you have a that you have a root position chord, and then the fact that you have this is tonicizing tells you, how to classify the chords. So the accidentals are something. I think the accidentals in this question are what are key to help classify what the chords are and allow you to make that conclusion that you're going from 1/6/4/5, 5 of 5, and then back to your 1 of 5. You never write it as 1 of 5, but you can think of it that way to help you understand why it's a cadential 6/4. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. It's not a passing 6/4 for sure. Neighboring, maybe. Arpeggiated, no. So that's how we make that conclusion. All right, which of the following rhythmic devices is featured? One thing I need to always do, because I see new chats, but I can't load them immediately. So I have to reload them on my phone so that I need to reload stuff so I can make sure I see stuff. Yep, there's dotted rhythms. It's a big one. Set polyrhythm. Don't see it. Triplets. Don't see it. Hemiola. Don't see any twos held over. You have da 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 da. Yeah, you have rested rhythm here, but like not hemiola. Hemiola is essentially when you have hemiola is one of those things that Tchaikovsky loves using. It's when you have 3/4. Hemiola is when you have duple meter, or sorry, when you have triple meter, but it sounds like duple meter. So it's going to sound something like this, right? Da da. So it could be something like this, right? It's emphasis on every 2 notes. That's what's happening. That's what a hemiola is. Tchaikovsky loved using hemiolas in his music. You can hear them in, like Waltz of the Flowers, for example. That's a piece that I played in a septet this past school year. for our winter concert. A lot of humulas in it. That's actually what made, I think, the ensemble tricky, or what made the piece tricky for the ensemble to put together. Humulas can be very, and even this year in our for actually the second movement of St. Paul's Suite, Opus 29 by Gustav Holst, mm, the ostinato. Ostinato is another word, by the way, that you should know for the AP Music Theory test. Ostinato means a repeating pattern. It's essentially, it's almost like a humular rhythm because you have da da da. So you have one, two, three, two, two, three, but it sounds like da 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 da. So the emphasis is on every two subdivisions of the measure. So, yep, ostinato is an exact repetition. So, like, if you listen to St. Paul's Suite, you hear that, like that, repeating, that repetition is what an ostinato is. The movement is actually called ostinato for a reason. So, da rhythms is the answer to question 13. All right, compared to the opening key, the excerpt and the tonalization of we kind of just went over this at the 5. You guys went over this. So that's the dominant 5. The texture is best described as what? All right, so we can notice here it's not really canon. Canon is when you have when you have voices that are sort of aligned to each other. If you think about like Hackbell's canon, for example, you have one voice and the second voice, they're complementing each other, like in that sense. So like, and if we want a formal definition of it, canonical, or yeah, not canonical. Yeah, so you have imitation between instruments, like in Pachelbel's canon. Heterophonic, or sorry, contrapuntal means you have voices that are moving with each other. So counterpoint, what that means is a pairing of two voices or more voices. Counterpoint in general is used to refer to when you have multiple independent melodies that are working with each other. So when stuff is moving with each other. Heterophonic. What heterophonic means, when you think about the word heterogeneous, if you really don't know what these words mean on test day, and you need to, make a guess, it's when you have, multiple instruments that play the same thing. Because heterozygous, if you think about biology, the same, right? Or that's homozygous. Hetero, two different things. But in the case of music, you have the same melody being played by multiple voices. Don't think about biology. This is not the bio test. This is the music theory test. We can eliminate C immediately because does any of the lines look the same? No. Chordal homophony is when you just have a bunch of chords. No. There's not really any imitation here, so I think we can also here eliminate. We can also eliminate A. Sorry, yeah, we can eliminate A because there's not much repetition between each other. So we can just say the answer for this one is B. Okay, that is our. All right, so that's all the multiple choice that we're going to do. So for this one, contrapuntal. The reason why it's contrapuntal is because you have a bunch of melodies working with each other. So you have this melody in the alto, and then this the first two violins. They have different they have different moving lines. They're all moving. They're different melodies, but they're all working with each other. The reason why it's not canonic is because there's no imitation really between any of the parts, between any lines. Heterophonic, nothing between any of the instruments is remotely the same. So it's not heterophonic either. Chordal homophony, there's nothing resembling, chords after chords in this at all. So that's why we can also eliminate D as well. So the answer is B in this case. Okay, now I do want to make sure we get to the free response section. So I was originally going to have us do some error identification multiple choice questions. We can come back to this later if you guys want to, but I do want to start off by having us do at least one type of each. I should delete this. Let me this? Um, what I'm gonna have us do is we're going to because most of the practice for this is going to be done like independent is most beneficial practice can be done independently on your own. I want us today together here while we're here together to be able to go through strategies for the free response because the free response at the end of the day, the way you're going to get it is going to just be through practice, 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 practice. When I took AP Music Theory, our teacher basically half the days the drill was dictation, dictation practice, dictation practice, dictation practice. Because the more you do this dictation practice, the more the strategy is going to stick into your head. Now, there are a lot of different strategies for the dictations, but what's going to be critical is, you know, consistency with that strategy, following along with what's going on. Sorry, this cough is so bad. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go through the first. I'm going to go through. All right, we're going to go through each one of these. Let's go through one melodic dictation, one harmonic dictation, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of streamline the I'm going to kind of streamline the 3 written questions, and then I also do want to see if we can get to at least do one sight singing prompt as well, and then we'll see where we're at with time. All right, so let's do. All right, let me pull up the audio for this. Am I sharing my whole screen? I don't think I am. I need to share my whole screen for this. Okay, so AP Music Theory prompts. Oh, past tests. Because I need to pull up the audio. Alright. Alright. Let me share my entire screen so I can share the audio as well. Where's the share screen? Okay, this one. Change stream. Alright, there we go. Alright. So, first things first. For one of the questions, the melody is going to be played 3 times. The other one, it's going to be played 4 times. You're going to hear 30 seconds after the first, a 30-second pause after the first playing, and then 1 minute pause after each subsequent playing. Make sure to utilize that time wisely because that time is when you're going to need to fill in those gaps and get everything written down. And the thing is, you don't want to be scrambling after the very last playing and then not have time to finish and then need to move on to the next question. So keep that in mind. Make sure you use your time carefully and just move along. Now, anytime. So I'm going to show you guys the way that I learned this in my AP Music Theory class. You might have your own strategy, but when it comes to melodic dictation, there are 2 critical elements that you have to get in the composition. First is the rhythm, and the second is the pitch. You want to get the rhythm down first, because if you don't have the rhythm down, you can't really establish any basis for pitch at all. When it comes to rhythm, the way I was taught to do it was to draw, to, to draw vertical lines for each subdivision. And then as I'm listening, for example, if I hear da da da, I keep it as is. But if I hear something like da da da, or if I hear like da 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 da, so da 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 da, I might notate like this. Or for example, if I hear da 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 like that, or if I hear da 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 da, I'll notate it like da 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 like that. So whatever system you use, have a rhythmic system that you can use to notate the rhythm. So let's oh gosh, this thing is messy. Okay. Why is there a transcript for this? Okay, that's, I don't know why I need that. Okay, they post stuff that we don't need. Okay, audio. All right, there we go.
Questions 1 and
Oh, that's the directions. Oh, why do we need the directions? I don't care. Okay, question 1.
Question 1. The melody will be played 3 times. Here uses all melody will be played on a violin.
No rests. Keep that in mind. There's pretty much never any rests. No, I've never seen a question that has rests in it. It would not be fair. All right. So, manuscript paper, have that along with you at home, or if want to just watch me do it, whatever you choose. All right. Keep in mind the first note is always provided because perfect pitch is not expected, only relative pitch. All right. Let's do it. I'll say I have not done this in quite a while, but
the pitch of the first note has been provided. Be sure to notate the rhythm of that note. Now,
all right. So yeah. Okay, yeah, that's the last instruction. Okay. Hopefully I still know how to do this, but I mean, it's kind of, yeah, it's easily acquirable to train.
Listen to the melody for the first time and begin working.
Okay. So the. Okay. And we hear, and if we go back and listen, if we just think about what we heard, we can hopefully at least recall that we had an ascending scale for the first 3 notes. So da 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 da, and then da da da. All right, so let's do this one more time.
Second time.
Second time. Okay, if you noticed, I wrote here arpeggio. So da 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 da. Da, 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 and that's descending, right? You heard that descending, right? Da, 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 right? All right, so let's go back and just like take a moment. If we have the second, we're gonna do this. Da, 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 da. It goes down, right? Da, 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 right? And let's notate the rhythm. Da, da, dot, right, dot, eighth note, and then right, and then da, 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 da. And if you notice here, it sounds like you almost have like a 5 going to a 1, right? Da, 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 da. Fourth, right? Perfect fourth. So we can notate that as well. Da, 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 da. Arpeggio, right? All right, now let's listen to this one more time. Let's listen to this one more time, just so we get any gaps we fill in. And then also the last before we do this, let's look at the last bar. Last bar, duh, duh, duh. Like if you remember that, usually the beginning and the endings of the dictation you can probably get in the very first, maybe your second listen. If you remember the end, like duh, 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 right, it just goes down a half step, right? You want to try to get these couple easy points. Use the first and last measures are, I'd say, where the easy points come from. Especially the last measure, because very often, sorry, the last note is going to be held for at least half the measure. One more time.
Question 1 will now be played a final time.
Okay. Okay, I accidentally stopped the stream again because I accidentally joined again on my phone again. Okay. Okay, apologies about that. Okay, let's try that again.
The melody for question 1 will now be played a final time.
Complete that descending scale. Da, da, sorry. Da, 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 da. So there we go. There we have it. Da, 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 da. That's super messy handwriting, but whatever. Let me fix that a little bit. Da, 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 da. Fix that a little bit. Da, 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 da. So there we go. So we start from the rhythm, then we move on to the pitch. That's how we get it. All right, now let's do a harmonic dictation. All right. And do keep in mind this second question is likely one because the first one was all diatonic. The second one is likely where you're going to have something that's chromatic, so some sort of secondary function in a sense. So we'll skip this one, but let's do question 3. Let's do the one in minor because why not? All right. Also, I'm going to pull up the scoring guidelines just in case. All right, let's just check our answer for number 1. Oh yeah, we got that right. There we go. Okay, cool. All right. All right. Oh, I revealed the answer. I should not have done that. All right. Let's take a look at question 4. All right. All right. So with the harmonic notation, I think the key here is going to be um, getting your head in the key that is there, and then first of all, listen to the bass line. This is what my music theory teacher always stressed in class. Listen to the bass line because if you have the right bass line, you can probably guess the chords half the time. So let's start with that. Let's start with the bass. Let's start listening to the bass line of this one.
Question 4. Before listening time.
Okay, ready? And let's go. Da, 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 da. All right, let's listen to this one more time. Let's try to get to the bass line the second time as well.
The progression for question 4 will now be played a third time.
Okay, whatever. Half step. All right. So now we got the bass line. That's critical. So do 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 do. So hey, listening for that half step is critical. Do, 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 do. Right? All right. Now let's listen for the melodic line.
Now be played a third time.
Melody. So the so this part, the melody, think about the interval. So da 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 da. All right. So now so the fourth listen, my suggestion is so the key parts of this melodic of harmonic dictation, you have to identify not only the pitches, that's 2/3 of the score for the harmonic dictation. The other third of the score comes from being able to identify correctly the um, pitches. No, sorry, the chords. Keep in mind that the chords. Gosh, these allergies are so bad. I hate allergies. Chords. So chords. When we listen to the chord progressions, one of the things that first strikes us is we have a 5 chord here. Or at least it's a dominant chord. Let's put down a 6 here first. It could be a 5/6 chord. It might also be a 5/6/5 chord. We're going to put a question mark there to help us indicate for later. Last one, if you listen, F. The only possibility it could be is a 6 chord, actually, because F is the 6th of A. Another 5 chord, but we don't know if it's a 5 or a 5/7. And then right here, E and A, very easily we can pretty much guess that it's going to be a 1/6 chord. A 1/6/4 chord, because you have that in second version. Now this is where we're going to look at our little trickster doodles right here, because we have a secondary function. Exciting, isn't it? D sharp. Let's think about that. D sharp. And we have a C here. That's a seventh apart, right? D sharp. I guess we have F, A, C. Or wait, maybe that's not a C. I think that might not be a C. Let me listen to this again. Did I get it right? I might have gotten wrong. The other part more. Oh, it's a B. Sorry, I got that part wrong. All right. So listen to that, right? Let's go back. Let's go back and also fill in this. We have one chord again. Let's just fill in this one chord for the time being, and then 1/6/4 for the time being, just so we get those easy points. And then let's listen to the chord progression one more time. Okay, so we can get some of these functions down. Okay, let me do the last listening.
Final time.
Okay, there we go. Cool. So B and D. B and D natural. What could that be? Maybe a 2? Maybe not. What else do we have here, right? We have our we have our D, which could be a D minor chord. D minor chord, that is a 4 chord. That could be a possibility. So let's put that down as a 4 chord for now. D sharp. What key could that be in? Well, we think about our closely related keys, right? D sharp, E. That could be in E minor, right? Da, da, that could be in E minor, totally. Now, the thing we have to remember is that essentially what a 164 does, it kind of extends the function of the 5 chord. So E minor is totally plausible. We could have B, D sharp, but that could totally be part of an E minor chord. So let's say we have 5. Let's say we have a 5-6 of 5 for now. This is the tricky part because we're making our sort of best guesses that we can based on what we can tell from the chords. So let's take a look at the answer key now, just so we see what's happening. Just so we see what the right answers are. Because truth be told, it's been a while since I've done this, but we can work through this together and see how this is all coming together. All right, so we were right for this first one. 5-6 or any like a dominant versus a dominant 7. Listen for that 7. Listen for that little distance. I think that's going to be the key. So we got this right. Okay. So we did. So this one was actually not a 4 chord. This one was actually a 2 diminished 6 chord. All right. So that was my mistake there. So and then also, all right. So let's go back and listen to see if we can figure out what's going on there, because when we work through this, we want to make sure we know. The trickiest part I think about the harmonic notation that I still get wrong, as you see just now to this day, is figuring out when you have that 7th. So let's see if we can make sense of it now.
The progression time.
All So the key there, I think, was sort of being able to just pick out that 7. So for the last chord, that's a 5-7. We could sort of pick out a 7. So you can pick out that 7. Like, see, you can hear that slight distance in it. I allowed to pick up that being a 5-7. Same thing with this second chord in this measure. You can kind of pick out that little dissonance in there. And then same thing with this this first chord. Pick out that dissonance of the diminished chord, I think, is what's helpful. So, yeah, truth be told, this is something that's sort of hard to explain at this stage of the game because it's something that sort of gets trained over time. But what I'm sort of learning as I'm redoing this, and what I think is the best thing to do in this context, really, pick up and think about the quality of chords is, I think, what's critical. So there we have it. Also, I just did this one incorrectly. It's supposed to be 1-6, not 1-6-4, because that was just a dumb mistake on my part. Okay, now we have that done. So last chord was very easily identifiable as being a not deceptive. What was it called? Not. Oh wait, was it called deceptive? I think it's called deceptive. So, yeah, it's been a while since I've done these. Yeah, it's a deceptive chord. Yeah, deceptive chord progression. Plagal is we have 4 is when we have 4-1. Oh, so did I just? Okay, no, I didn't. I did not stop my screen share. Okay, good. Okay, all right. Make sure the stream is still running. Okay. Oh shoot. Okay, I did lose my. Okay, I did lose my stream. Okay, doesn't matter. At least now we don't need the audio sources anymore. So yes, Plagal is 4-1. Deceptive is 5-6. Yeah, and then perfect authenticated is 5-1. All right, we are hitting the 2 hour mark, so I don't want to go for too much longer, but I do want us to at least yeah, and then 5 to either 5-6. It could be in minor or it could be in major 6. Yeah. All right. The stream is not loading. I think because it's lagging. Yeah, it's not slimming to 5. Tonic, predominant, dominant, progression is, like it could be 1-2-5, 1, or it could be 1-4-5-1, something like that. That's just a general progression rule though. Okay, what we're gonna do for the remainder of the time, I think, is we're going to apologies about this cough. Gosh. Okay, so we're hitting about the 2 hour mark, so I want to start, getting close to wrapping up, maybe at most another half hour. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to just streamline through the remainder of the free response questions. I want to at least look at one site-seeking prompt, and then I want to show you guys that one prompt, one multiple choice prompt that I had that I will provide in a folder that will be posted. Okay, so um, let's take a look at the remainder of the response questions. My stream is running. Okay, so I'm not going to do all of them all the way through, but I am going to streamline them just to give you a rough idea of strategy. Okay, now you have 45 minutes. 45 minutes to do these. So we're gonna start with figured base. So figured base, which you always want, I think what's always super helpful is chord spelling. Spell out the chords. Let's take a look at this. So we have our G, 5-3. This is obviously a 1 chord. Now we have a 6 for an E flat. What this means is that this E flat is our second note. So E flat is our second note, so that means we have C beneath it and the G above it. So C, E, G flat, that's going to be a 4-6 chord. I don't think you need to put the figured bass, but put it just in case. Now, sharp. Sharp means we have a sharp note in here. So that is typically indicative of in this case, that'd be indicative of the 3. So D, then F sharp would make, and that would also just make the most sense here. F sharp, A. That's going to be our 5 chord. Sharp 4-2. That's interesting. So what we have here is we have a 7 chord that is in third inversion. So we're going to have C as our top note, and then D, F, A. The fourth above the C is F sharp, so we're going to raise that F sharp. There's that. So 2, sorry, not 2. This is going to therefore be a 5-4-2 because it's, again, we have our D as our root, and it's a 7 chord. Here we have G, B flat, D because B flat is our second note in our triad. So that's just going to be a 1-6. Here we're going to have a first inversion 7 chord. So C is our second note. So we're going to go A, and then E flat, G. So that's going to be a half diminished 2, 2 half diminished 2-6-5. And then here we have D. We're going to have D. So that's going to be our 5 chord again. 4, 3. All right, I'm not going to go through all the chord spelling. That's going to take quite a lot of time. Well, it really should only take 15 minutes, but I mean, we have other response questions we need to get to. The key is going to be no parallel fifths, no parallel octaves. Make sure you're doubling stuff correctly, and make sure at the end you resolve this suspension at the end properly. So you suspend the G for the previous measure, and then resolve it down to an F sharp. Phrygian half cadence, I believe so. Yes, it's just the It is just it's a 4/6. It's a 4/6 to the 5. Yep, yep. You guys know your stuff. Good stuff. All right, so that's going to be the string line for the first response question. If we go to the scoring guidelines, you'll see that oh, I keep going to the wrong page. I don't think I have it shared right now, but going to that, you'll see that that is the key. And in the scoring guidelines, they don't expect what they do tell you is they don't expect you to put the figured base back again, but you can if you want to. There are multiple possible answers also for this, so keep that in mind. All right, let's take a look at the second question now. The second question, the figure base is already given to you, so it's just going to be chord spelling. So one chord, E, G, sharp, B. Underline that root, underline that base one. 4 of E, that's A, C sharp, E. Don't just underline this A right here. That's going to be your base. So let's write the bass line out at least, because that way we have something to go off of. What is the 2 of E? F sharp, right? F sharp minor. Yeah, 18th century voice leading, we love it, right? I mean, no one uses it today, sadly, for modern music, but you know what? We study it because it's important to understand. F sharp. So F sharp minor? What's the 5 of that? C sharp, right? So we're going to start with C sharp, and we have a major, or we want to do a major triad construction because that will allow us to get our dominant 7. C sharp, E sharp, G sharp, B. And because we are in second inversion, let's underline this G right here, G sharp right here. So that's that. 2 chord is what we're going to resolve to. F sharp, A, C. Simple like that, right? 5, 7, 5 of E is B. B, D sharp, F sharp, A. So let's write stuff out here. 5. Oh, sorry, that's a 6. 6. What is the 6 of E? C sharp. So just C sharp, E, G sharp. This time, notice that we do not raise the E because this is a minor chord, minor triad. So we have our C sharp right there. From here on out, just do the voice leading. That can be done on your own time. No parallel fifths, no parallel octaves. Make sure you follow all the voice leading rules. Cool. All right, that's the speed run of this. I am speed running this because I don't want this to go on for too long because it's been about almost 2 hours. I'm getting tired too, but I will feel free to stick around if you have questions. Okay, so this question is even more of this question. I'll be honest, I really don't think you need 20 minutes for this. For me, this is actually ironically the one that is usually done the fastest because these, I feel like at this point we all know voice leading, it can be time consuming if something goes wrong. So let's take a look at what we have here. This is really just about solving the puzzle. This honestly I could probably do in full right now. So let's take a look at the phrases, right? We have we're in F major and we have 1 6 1 5 6 1 1 da 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 all of that, right? We have this C right here, which means we have this B and we have this B natural here. That probably means we can do a secondary function. B natural, what could that be? We could do C major because then we have no sharps or flats. 5 of 5. Let's do it. And then we go to the 5 right there. We can do that. And then we can have right here, we can just make this all 5s technically if we wanted to. Or we can make this a 1 6 4 if you want to. Totally up to you. Da, da, da. And then you can make this whatever you want to. You can also make inversions of the chords if you like to. So G major, you can have, you can maybe even have, 5 6 5 6 or 5. So you can have like, or sorry, actually no, don't do that. Just do 5 right there. You can jump a fifth if you want to. Da, da. So there we go. We finished the first phrase, right? That's one way we could have done it. Da, 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 right? Now, the one thing I think is a good tip for this section, keep it simple. This is not the time to pull out, a John Corigliano move or a Maurice Ravel move. Those two moves are very different from each other, but I pulled out the example because 20th century music is very different from 18th century music. We don't need to go fancy here. Keep it simple. One chords, five chords, four chords. Keep it simple. I'm not going to write out the bass line here, but five chord. Oh, sorry, one chord. D. Four chord. One chord again. One chord again if you want to. You can do a four chord here again. Let's do let's do a five chord here because we have this E right here, and then one chord for the final one, and then four chord, five chord. Let's just do that. Invert as needed. Basically, the moral of the story is keep it simple. That's the main thing I wanted to share by going over this. Not the because at this point I would hope that we all know how to actually do this at this point in the year. But the critical thing here is strategy. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. And this question will be an easy 9 points. All right. I do want to look at one sight singing prompt, just because we have the time for it. All right. I apologize if this is getting a little bit rushed, but I do want to make sure that you know, because I do want to say that this part of the response, it's really about strategy, less so going through stuff and like doing stuff piece by piece for this type of event. Um, uh, so I hope what I'm doing is helpful for the time being for the conditions given. All right, sightseeing is in a different PDF, of course. Oh yeah, because it's a different booklet on test day. Okay, let's download this. Pop her down. I can't find it. Okay, we'll just screenshot it. All right, so 75 seconds to all right, so 75 seconds to um, look at Picardy third. I love those. All right, let's see if we know what a Picardy third is. I'll give you a hint. It has to do with it has to do with minor, major changes. So, strategy with sight singing. Break it down. You have a minute and 15 seconds to practice. Break the uh, break the rhythm down. When you practice, remember you have 30 seconds to record. Don't rush. So we're in common time. 4 beats per measure. Da 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 da. First, the first beat of the first note, you're going to get the pitch, by the way. The CD is going to play, the CD is not going to play the cough sound. It's going to play the pitch of the first note. So, okay. I'm going to go a octave lower because I can't sing that high. Also, I'm like half sick right now, so it's like hard to sing. Yeah, so solfege is something that may be helpful. For me, solfege personally wasn't that helpful, but if it's helpful for you, absolutely use it because it can be a great tool. Do, do, ti, do, me, re. But I'm not going. I don't know how to use solfege because, uh, yeah. So if it's something you were taught with, go with it because habit is best for this test. Doing what you're comfortable with is the best for this type of test. Solfege for me personally, halfway through the year, my music theory teacher was just like, "Yeah, don't bother," because like I was doing fine with just listening to the pitches, and also kind of probably just because I was never trained with it. I was never like trained with solfege, I think, growing up. It was always just pitches. I was always just trained to know the pitches of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, same. Like my AP music theory teacher, like he teaches choir. So that's that could also be where that comes from. So all right. Alright, so let's break down the rhythm. So in a minute 15 seconds, establish a comfortable tempo. Tap your finger on the desk. Don't tap it so loudly because you're not allowed to have a metronome, obviously. But tap, maybe even tap your foot. You know, do something. Maybe even conduct if it helps you. So let's break down the rhythm. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and don't go too quickly, right? So you have da da, so da 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 da, so da da, so da 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 da. Make sure you hold that last note long enough so that it's distinguishable as a half note. Yeah, I just do tas. I just did tas on my test day. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. So let's do this. Like so, ta da 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 da. Mostly this is a conjunct rhythm, conjunct melody. Sometimes you have a little jump. Practice the jumps if you have the time. If you need to. So da 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 da. That's probably the trickiest part right here. Da 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 da, and then da 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 da. Arpeggio. Da 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 da. All right. So now let's put it together, right? So so let's establish the rhythm again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Da 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 da. So take that minute. Make sure you take that second in the middle to just take a breath as well. So the slur line is probably a good excuse to say you can take um, to breathe in between that slur, right? The other one, let's do the other one from this year, just so we get used to the other one. This one is usually one of them is the harder one, um, because you have um, a chromatic passing tone or something like that. All right, this one is going to be da 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 da. So that's our rhythm. So da 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 two two one two two one two da 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 1, 2, 3. All right, establish a rhythm there. All right, now we're gonna have our pitches. So do 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 do. Okay, I can sing that low. Okay. So do 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 do. So do 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 do. Okay, never mind. I can't sing low. I'm gonna have to go up an octave. It's gonna be annoying. Do 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 do. Practice that jump. Do 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 do. You can compose lyrics if you want to. It does not matter so long as the rhythm and the pitch is right. Honestly, I didn't feel like doing it. If you want to do it and you have the skill to do it and you want to do it, go right ahead. Just don't get it wrong. Do 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 do. All right, so I kind of speed ran that, but practice those jumps, right? Do 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 do. That half step right there. My voice is super. Don't mind the cringiness of my voice. It's getting super strained because I don't sing this high. I don't sing at all, actually. I'm not a vocalist. Do 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 do. Practice those jumps in that time. Now let's put it together. So establish the rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. Do, 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 do. Alright, alright. My voice is strained from that. Apologies if that sounds super cringy. I'm not a vocalist, so don't expect my singing to be of good quality. Uh, but you're not graded on the quality of your singing. Just get the rhythm right, get the pitch right. So, key takeaways from this: break it down. Do 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 da 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 da. Right. Da da da. Subdivisions. Da 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 da. Right? Yeah, that jump is annoying. Do do do. All right. So we're gonna start wrapping up our session right here. I do want to show you guys one more thing when it comes to so I will post everything, as I said, in a folder. So for example, this, just to show you what this might look like on test day, you might have a question set that looks like this. We're going to have you know your a printed piano melody, and then also um, your oral version, and you have to compare the two, figure out what its errors. With this question, I'm going to just really quickly talk about strategy. Star the measures that they tell you in the questions, and then listen. And then with each listen, because you get 4 listens, use each listen to pay attention and isolate a different line. Don't try to listen to both the left and the right hand at the same time. It will not work unless you have super ears. But don't try it on test day. Okay. One more thing. This is also going to be another resource I'll have in the folder. Sometimes you will have phrase diagrams for the questions. So actually, I'll play the audio for this. Before I do that, oh, the E&M session I am not doing because I'm actually learning E&M right now. The AP test is on Thursday, and I still need to. I've not done a single practice test yet, and I'm still struggling on like one of the units. I'm pretty cooked. I'm probably going to attend that session. I'll be honest. Oh yeah, the timings. Yeah, the timings. Those are the timings. Yeah, those I went over that at the beginning of the session as well. But yeah, thank you, Pernille, for posting that. Yeah, the timing is not too bad. I will say one thing I will warn you guys about. Beware that the CD on test day, they have standard timings for. I think they do have standard timings for how much time you get between tracks. But like, don't be surprised if it feels super quick between listens and going on to the next set. Because I'll be honest, during part B, I had to go back to part A to finish bubbling in a couple of questions because they moved on pretty quickly from one song to the next. So don't let that catch you off guard. Make sure you're moving quickly as you can. Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't think I've taken that many bathroom breaks during AP tests. I think actually I usually don't. I think for Gov I took a bathroom break actually before I even started the essay. Oh gosh. Oh, that sounds like a very interesting testing situation. Oh gosh, that sounds terrible. One bathroom. Oh gosh, 2 APs back to back. So oh gosh, which ones did you have? Yeah, I had Lang and Mechanics last year, back to back. Oh, rolling stats. Oh gosh. Oh yeah, I had Lang and Mechanics last year, back to back too. It was I had that last year. It was so bad. It was terrible. Especially because Mechanics last year was the bad format. It was the bad format. But this year is worse because it's longer. But hopefully it's not as bad time wise. Yeah, stats wasn't too bad. I don't take I never took world history, but I can imagine it can be pretty hard. Yeah, much more time per question. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, stats. I'm hoping the curve is going to carry. Even then, I tried to aim to get as many questions. I mean, I mean, I think we all try to aim to get as many questions right as possible. But yeah, I usually do like pretty good on multiple choice. I think for like, uh, and for self-studying, like that's yeah, that's still really good. I mean, a four is a very good score for self-study, especially. All right, last thing I'm going to do before I end the session and take questions, or you can start putting questions in the chat now if you want. But sometimes you'll have a phrase diagram as well. This is actually what I made for my project. I made for my project for the class. So I'll play the audio now, actually, because I think it's a good audio. No copyright infringement is intended, just so you know that, by the audio. Let me share my entire screen. All right, so what's going to happen is, you'll hear, you're going to hear introduction with two phrases, and then two different sections with lyrics. Sometimes the lyrics will be written out. So sometimes, like I remember one practice test I had, the lyrics were written out, so you might be asked to refer to the lyrics as you listen. Let me go to the audio, not that one. Where's the? All right, so I'm going to play the audio for this first part. So introduction. Let's listen to this audio. All right, so first three questions. First three questions. So just pay attention to that. I'm not going to go through the questions, but just this might be what it sounds like. So you might hear something like this for the introduction. So you'll hear the phrases. So like, yeah, I was waiting to do that. Oh wow, that's a interesting threat. Okay, yeah, okay. I think I'll at least pass. Anyways, but yeah, so that was the project that I did for my class actually. I mean everyone kind of knew that I was gonna do that because I kind of revealed it before because for a little bit of context, I was known and I still am known for knowing absolutely nothing about modern music or any music past the 1950s because I'm known for being pretty much strictly a classical musician and knowing nothing outside of that. It's okay. I have learned some modern artists though, but back then this was pretty much the only modern artist I knew about. So it was very obvious about that about I was going to do this. Going going about that though, it's important to be able to compare stuff across different phrases. So for example, right, you might listen when you. I encourage you to do this. Is listen to the Rickroll song, the "Never Gonna Give You Up," and notice and work through these questions and take a moment to realize that even with modern music, you can apply principles of music theory to that. There are things like ostinatos. There could be, well, not I don't know if there are in this one, but there are things like repetition. There could be, uh, uh, there could be, conjunct or disjunct melodies. Always something you can use to describe music. So that's what I wanted to bring out this. Not only did I want to rickroll y'all because I did that last year as well, but it's I think it points home the purpose of why we did that project, which I think was important. All right, that's where we're wrapping up. Let me look at favorite time period. Oh gosh, there's so many good time periods. All of them. I love Baroque music. Like the Rococo period is also very nice. Like that's a very interesting period. The classical period, obviously. I mean, you got Mozart, the classic of that period. Bach, Haydn, Scarlatti. Uh, I really Scarlatti is a really underrated composer. I'll be honest. Um, for the Baroque era, Vivaldi, of course, Beethoven, crossing over to the Romantic period, Tchaikovsky, Chopin, like Wieniawski, all of them, like Ravel, of course, for the 20th century, Debussy. It's hard to pick out a period. It's hard to pick out one period. I mean, Khachaturian, Khachaturian. So piano's my primary. I mean, I play three instruments total actually. I play piano. That's my primary. I play violin as well, and I play a traditional Chinese instrument as well called guqin. So that's those are the three instruments I play. So yeah, piano is like my primary. That's where I get most of my music theory training from actually. Um, oh, cello is very nice. Yeah. Steve's Lava Chicken. I don't know what that is. I don't be real. Stupidest arrangement for oh, piano. Yeah, piano can be a pain. I don't know what Steve's Lava Chicken is. Is this some like the is it like the Minecraft whatever movie thing or something like the StarCraft World Rangers something movie? I don't know. Oh yeah, Minecraft movie. Okay, that's what it was. It's not. It's different from Roblox. I keep thinking Minecraft and Roblox are the same thing. They're not because I'm looking at these computers and I don't know what I'm looking at half the time. I'm looking at these games, whatever they are. I just play solitaire and Minesweeper all day. Not all day, but that's all I play. I'll be real. Uh, yeah, I'll be honest. I get told I sound old a lot, but I don't keep up with memes. I'll be honest. Every time I discover a meme, it's always like 2 years late, unfortunately. But it's embarrassing to admit. But oh, I do actually get Italian brain rot. I actually do know about Italian brain rot, like all the tung 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 sahur tra la tra la, all that stuff. I do know about that. Um, all right, but on that note, on that note, this is mostly concluding our actual music theory review. Just to go over everything we just did today, we went over uh, we do know about the format. We looked for some multiple choice, some types. We looked over uh, dictation strategy in general. Okay, they were from completely different time periods. Rosa Parks was the 20th century. The Constitutional Convention was the 18th century. I took AP Gov this week. I know that. According to Hyman last. Wait, what? Oh, okay, I was confused. I thought that was sarcasm. Okay. Oh, okay. That's I kind of want to see that. I was super confused. Okay. I mean, yeah, okay. I would hope people. I would hope A push students would know that's a joke. Yeah, I mean, I would hope anyone knows that's a joke. I'd be very surprised if someone actually believed that Rosa Parks was at the Constitutional Convention. I'd be very concerned. Okay. On that note, any questions about music theory? Any last minute questions? All right. Vocabulary, good question. So we covered quite a few today, but what I'll pull up right now so that we can look a bit more into detail is the CED. The CED will tell us a lot about the random vocab that we need to know the definitions for. Um, so let's look at some stuff in this. Let's see. Let me go to the vocabulary. So yeah, um, Moloch features. There's a good amount here. Okay, so some of them are here. Contour, conjunctive disjunct melody, motive, syllabic, melismatic. Those are a bunch of vocab words. So let me actually just type out all the ones I can think of right now. So melismatic is essentially so syllabic versus melismatic. Syllabic is when you have one syllable line per note. And melismatic is when you have one syllable that spans across multiple notes. So like ta ta ta, or like ta. So that's syllabic. Ta. That's melismatic, right? So actually, let me look. Let me see if there's any resources on Google. Um, so I can send this link in the chat. Actually, oh, this probably has more information that you need. Actually, this has, I think, plenty of. Uh, yeah. Yeah, this is 2008, the College Board. What? Yeah, Crucis. Yeah, Crucis is not in here. Okay, well, this I think will get you a good amount of the way through. It's from the College Board itself, actually. Actually, no, I don't trust this one because it's from 2008. Vocabulary. Missing. Okay. Um, these are the tempo markings you need to know. Tempo. There's a lot of vocabulary for tempo. Music theory is not. It's. It depends on the teacher, honestly. Let's go, Scoreflex. Let's go. Yeah, music theory depends on the teacher. If you have a great teacher, like I had an awesome teacher, so that class was amazing. But if you don't have a great teacher, the class I would admit is going to be torture. Okay, so there's a lot of okay. So if you look in the CED, because here's the thing, I can't find a resource right now that reliably lists out all the vocab. If you read through the CED, 1.9, this is where you're going to have a lot of the tempo vocab that you need to know. Yeah, because there isn't really that much like content you have to know. Like vocab is really just the main thing you have to memorize, and it's not even that heavy on the test because a lot of it is kind of just like random music knowledge that you acquire over time. And yes, you have to know all these tempo markings. So all of these. Using the MCQ, you can also kind of like figure it out half the time. Yeah, this I think is probably the best one I found. If you know all of these, I think you're pretty much set. All right, let's post this link. Yeah, Italian. I mean, I'm gonna do anti-Italian brain rot. Allegro di molto con brio. My favorite line from Beethoven. But yeah, to answer your question about vocab, I think this PDF I've just found is probably like if you know like if you don't have to I don't think you're gonna need to memorize all of them because there's only like molto con brio. No, please no. So yeah, allegro di molto e con brio. But yeah, that's Beethoven's line. I think this is plenty. These vocab words should be plenty. There's only 75 questions, and the thing is the vocab is much more apparent in the oral section, I would say. So don't stress too much about vocab. Know like the big ones. Like tempo is a big one. Like know melodic features, things like that. I think you'll be good. Vocab is not the emphasis of this test, but you should know as many as you can. Know as much vocab as you can. Paganini, Panini. Oh no, please no, please no, please don't apply this to composers. No, please no. They would be very unhappy. Anyway, okay, any more um, questions about music theory? Actual music theory. Any more questions? Curve is fairly generous. Exam room layout for it depends on how many people are taking it. So for the multiple choice, everyone's sitting in the same room because the CD player is just going to be blasting out the audio. Oh, 85. I think you're probably good for a 5. I think. I think and also don't forget there's sub scores. There's sub scores as well, so keep that in mind. I think you're probably in the good range for a 5. I want I because FRQ is also 55% if you consider the sight singing. Yeah, I think if you're getting like close to perfect scores on dictation, excuse me, I think you're in pretty good shape. The key signature they can't make it more than I don't think I've seen anything with more than 4 sharps. The most I've seen it is E major. I don't think they ever make it more than 4 sharps because this is not Tchaikovsky's first piano concerto. Um, most I've seen is 4 sharps. Like we saw today, we saw 4 sharps today. I think sight singing, yes, sight singing, yes, sight singing, yes. BC, yeah, just like yeah, subscore kind of just kind of like BC, except you don't get it for BC. You don't get a BC subscore. You just get a whole ABC score and AB. For music theory, you get a non-oral subscore and an oral subscore and a total score. Um, they do give sharp keys and flat keys. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions for Neil? I still remember you. I don't know if you were there at that time, but I remember after the for the physics. I think you already left by that point, but physics. I got pretty grilled for questions at the end. I was like almost on that point of never being able to leave, but it's okay. It's fine. All right, it's okay. Oh, this is my last one. Oh yeah, Krisha, I think you might have been there. Yeah, no, you might have been there. It was the physics mechanics one. It's okay. I'll hopefully be back next year. Yeah, I'm glad I got to do this. This is pretty fun. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Oh, okay, okay. That one you were there for. Oh yeah, it was someone else. I remember. Now that I remember, is so yeah, math can be annoying. All right. I'm assuming no more questions. Color guard. If you think you want to do it, then do it. It depends. Like, I mean, here's the thing. I'll be honest. I don't know much about. I don't know. I don't know much about color guard. I mean, I have friends who are in color guard, and what I've seen is it's very, it is very movement intensive. It is very, you know, it can be very, it can be very time consuming as well, especially if you have like if you're trying to be a captain. It's a lot of things, but I always hear a lot of busy stuff going on in the summer. Music theory for recommended musicians is not too bad. Because as you learn, because as you learn music theory, I'm sorry, as you learn your instrument, you pick up music theory, a lot of music theory along the way. So, it's not too bad. All right. Yeah, yeah, doxing. Come on, man. Don't, it would be hard to understand pitch as a percussion player. Yeah, that is true. Timpani has still has pitch though, but I think we play something like the triangle, something else. All right. Yeah, new clefs. Yeah, clefs. Yeah, clefs are they can be annoying. Like I play piano as my primaries, as I was saying before, so I know treble and bass clef both very well. But playing viola would be a struggle because I cannot read alto clef for my life on the spot. Like I can read it, but like yeah. Heimler? Yeah, tenor. Yeah, tenor clef. I guess because cello. Yeah. All right. I think. All right. Heimler. I have no idea where that came from. All right. I'm assuming we're pretty much done with questions. Alrighty. Well, in that case, I think this is where we'll call it. Um, thank you very much for coming, everyone. Uh, yeah, this has been great, and yeah, yeah, thanks. Hopefully this algae will go away soon. All right. Well, thank you for coming. That will be all. Have a great evening. Dab, yes. All right. Have a great evening. Good luck on the test on Monday. All right, see you. Of course. Of course. Yep. Yep. Of course. Alrighty.